Picture this. You're in second grade, and you walk into your classroom, and everyone you know, all your friends, they're huddled around in a circle, and you're like, what's going on? What's everyone looking at? And everybody has brand spanking new packs of Pokemon cards. And you've never heard of Pokemon in your life. You don't know what's going to happen. All you know is that your friends are going to be playing with those Pokemon cards, and you're going to be by yourself with your little Tinker Toys. See, whether we like it or not, our lives are determined by the decisions we make. Now, it's a lot deeper than that. Our paths are charted by the choices we've been swayed to believe are the best. Even from the earliest social surroundings, human beings must compete for their rung on the social ladder. A study from the University of North Carolina shows that preschoolers who understand social situations, that is to say, kids who can identify the correct things to say and do when interacting with others, were generally more well-liked by their peers than those unfortunate children who would grow up without a date to the 8th grade dance. So let me ask you this. Why do we as a society fight this concept of peer pressure? According to a study done by the Emory University School of Medicine, it's a natural part of our development, and we want to respond to the things that we think our friends will enjoy as well. Yet every day, we attempt to rebel against this tendency. We tell each other, fight against peer pressure, which, quite honestly, is just another tactic of social competition. We see in the media, in movies and TV, programs encouraging children not to listen to each other's opinions. Now, I'm not saying that the philosophy of being yourself is a bad one. All I'm saying is we need to drop this preconceived notion that peer pressure is a bad thing. Young adults should embrace the input of their various social groups in order to become well-rounded individuals. Now, the assumption in that statement is that a person's friends are honest and good and genuinely trying to look out for them. So it's relatively easy to stand up and say, hold on, Buster. What about the kids that happen to fall in with the wrong crowd? And that is a very good point. What does happen there? Should a person listen to input that will ultimately have a negative impact on their well-being? I say absolutely. I say if a kid ends up like a lemming jumping over the cliff because everyone else is doing it, all the power to them. People need to experiment. They need to do things that the general masses deem naughty in order to figure out what they like and what just doesn't gel with them. Peer pressure is not an electric chair. You can never get strapped in so tight that it's impossible to escape. And still, people think it's this monster that should be slain. This, in my opinion, is just a simple confusing of the issues. And this is where the term bullying comes in. It's true, there is a fine line between what's considered peer pressure and what is flat-out bullying. But bullying, according to Dr. Eric Stork of the University of Florida College of Medicine, deals more with the relational victimization of both males and females. In other words, bullying involves an act of aggression that can detrimentally affect one's physical and mental health. But peer pressure, well, peer pressure is simply the influence we feel every day from family, friends, school, work, etc. Our society confuses this influence with the looming threat of bullies and baddies that want to turn our children into mush. If you feel like your mind or your body is in danger of being harmed, get help. Because that is definitely a situation that has escalated beyond peer pressure. I think if there was a bigger movement to educate people about this topic, we would probably be able to recognize times when we should follow the advice of our peers and times when we should just listen to their input and decide to take a different route. But the media focuses more on thinking for yourself and being an individual, and quite honestly, I think that line of logic causes unnecessary turmoil or drama in kids' lives. Nowadays, people get so worried about retaining their own thoughts and opinions, their own unique mindset, that they try to contradict each other just for the sake of contradiction. If we could all just listen to each other and really think about the things our peers suggest we should do or should not do, well, not only would we see a more harmonious environment, but we would find ourselves much more prepared to tackle the problems we're given. Now, I know a lot of people think, okay, if I don't listen to my peers, I'll be rejected socially, but if I do listen, then I'll feel like I'm just going with the flow. What do we do about this? It's a pretty serious conflict. I mean, we as human beings are terrified of rejection. But if we ever become aware of our own conformity, we start to chew ourselves up on the inside. We just start hating ourselves for going along with whatever people are saying. This is something we can all avoid. You can march to the beat of a universal drummer without getting lost in the crowd. It all boils down to a simple skill that more and more human beings are forgetting. And that is the power to listen. When we listen to our peers, not only are we hearing valid input from people who have observed our behavior and can offer advice, but we're hearing our peers' values as well. We're hearing their perception of what is right based on what they appreciate. Listen to both ends of the spectrum. Take multiple opinions into account when you decide how to tackle something. It's all about listening. Don't just hear passing words that go floating into your ears and out of your ears. Really take into account all the values you're being presented with. I know what you're thinking. Listening more sounds easy, but we're so used to just waiting to talk that it feels impossible to break the habit. Well, here's a solution. If you feel like you are waiting to talk, make sure what you're going to talk about is a comment on the last thing that's being said. It helps to lodge information in your brain when something's being repeated. A study from Richard Edwards shows that repetition is key if you want to really understand something. Repetition is key if you really want to understand something. When our peers try to influence us, we should always step back and evaluate their suggestions. We need to reason out the logic in their arguments, and that's where a person becomes an individual. It isn't when you just up and decide to disregard everything but your own feelings. It's when you decide which argument is the most logical and the most beneficial to you. In a sense, the more we listen to our peers, the more of an individual we ourselves will become. So there it is. We shouldn't all try to be the James Dean of our generation. Our future won't lead anywhere if we're all just a bunch of causeless rebels running around. We need to listen more, contradict less, and really start to value what our friends and family have to tell us, no matter how extreme or negative their words may sound sometimes. Peer pressure should be embraced as a welcome method of self-improvement. Thank you.